Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Justina Agnieszka Chevalier. I am a medical doctor and I have to discuss here a peculiar type of a problem that affects a specific group of persons. This problem that I have encountered in many places needs a reviewing of interventions that are provided when it occurs and consists a public health problem as well as later on an ongoing need for a use of a quite deficient in results interventions. I am talking here mostly about persons who have married or pursued a long-term serious romantic relationship with a person or the virus across life persons who were of different country of origins, different race, or different nationality, and added to it also so-called privileged professions that in most countries, because of an intent uh, grounded in oath, such as mine, medical oath, and how we have to approach a resolution of such situations, we are often targeted by persons who pursue a loyalty towards persons from a country of birth or country of origins, or based on a family relationships and other relationships. Now, that is not possible. The same as patriotism in persons who are obliged to act in such situations to assure of the best interracial outcome for all persons who are alive, and that ends in acts of hatred, kidnappings, damages to reputation, as well as pursuits of delicensing or sabotaging accounts and sometimes assaults, and that has to, in many cases, that has to stop. Kidnappings also have accounted kidnappings, and I would like to specify who are those privileged groups. Those are persons who work for or ever did areas of health, security, or safety, public safety, and personal safety, as well as lawyers, especially international human rights lawyers, persons who are de facto involved in managing of emergencies, different emergencies, and often that includes police, medical personnel, so nursing personnel, medical personnel, and many also in many cases those are already all by default single persons, but non-stop actually pursuit of damage on reputation becomes a problem that is not possible to handle many times by lawsuits. That is of course a minor problem, but I would like to underline here that in cases where personnel like we are involved, sometimes lack of visibility or affiliation is purposeful. The same is for many lawyers who present appropriate education, accomplished or partially not accomplished on different areas of countries, and perform based to the best of knowledge in each and every case until the situation is resolved. And so, you see, that is a case in which sometimes it is very difficult because an area, I mean, right now in Borne, Oregon, is an area that is written in based on racial or national characteristics, possible conflict, and that conflict also results in a non-stop ongoing overall niceness and acts of biohazard, use of biological weapons, and also sabotage that affects children, elders, animals. And that is now first for me to explain something. I know that for sure I am an extremely, being allopathic physician person, skeptical in nature, and very logical person. That is an extremely unlikely scenario, and I have actually encountered and in implementation helped to solve it, at least to manage, because that conflict sometimes is ongoing, and also the external pressures, similar situations in 3 different housings that actually were holding as if hostage group of persons that in marriages, or often prevented from such, in less formal but serious willingness to share a life together and have children, relationships, were from in each member of that couple different country of origin, a distinct nationality, or were actually of a different racial makeup, so had very different contrasting characteristics matching, at least in a overall general description, a major area of the world, and in such that quite well described phenomenon actually of the protection of those couples over the years in the United States have been greatly reduced. And I sometimes do not see in the government of the United States and governmental agencies, as well as in persons bound by oath, because of how aggressive conflict and verbal and physical abuse at the moment when I arrive is, and how deeply mistrust actually prevents any sort of resolution of problems, mediation and negotiation, or help. And in omission of my help, too often persons self-sabotage and die. And here is the thing. If you are approached by me, do not hesitate to assume that you have to, instead of attacking me, seeking confirmations on my reputation, read through to the best of your knowledge the whole content and seek for delegating of that content to appropriate governmental agencies. And unless that email contains endearments or contains any sort of personal monologue or dialogue, that email or correspondence is in no way meant in any other way than for greater possible goodness, and most often than not, I follow a triage in which I assist first persons at greatest risk of the demisses without prompt intervention. And here I need to, because I was rejected before, and it is a high suspicion of sabotage. Too many factors actually come together with possibly a live biological agent. And so I have to tell you that because of an active act um, of violence and on duty police officers, and also such a deterioration of mental and physical health past certain age of those officers, as well as vicious at times hazings of those persons, I cannot assure you that, and or myself, that if I delegate to anyone at this point of time, that a detective or appropriate worker in an area will take up that case in a given corresponding area, and I'm talking about Woodburn, Oregon, and pursue in investigation. And we are talking here about a large community where the building contains persons mostly from Latin America, persons also who are post-divorce and have children from a spouse from Latin America, from Asian countries, and that is in the presentation much more aggressive but very similar to a Houstonian population of dominated by Asians but also of Mexicans and Africans. And we are talking about 2 years delays to issue a permit to have a functional kitchen for a place that holds actually, well, humans, okay, real humans, with excoriation on faces and a resistance to topical treatments often, or impossible to detect, spot, or analyze specimen insects of at least 3 different species. Some are common and known, some are quite uncommon. Foodborne infections that affect also almost immediately in invasiveness entire gastrointestinal system as well as lungs. And in the pursuit of, because if it's combined happening in a very short time and leading to a life-threatening situation, and there are persons around still in the building, and I do perform an evaluation trained in Mexican medical school, also in field, to see if the problem was resolved, you see, because that problem I cannot guarantee because of that internal pressures observed also in interpersonal relationships, that problem was reported to public health inspector, investigated, and if apart from the visual inspection of, for instance, laundry rooms, trash cans, and at least one apartment, if I and surroundings, if I can assure that if I do report it, depending on country of origins, personal resentments, and also depending on perception of a right to have freedom of choice to pursue wanted marriage regardless of race and also country of origins, and in many cases also gender, that is unless it is pressured, forced by the situation, in freedom, I would like to repeat, as well as dissolve such relationships and assure of safety, is the issue that is a human rights declaration, okay? And so I will actually, if that is not addressed by medical personnel, skip that step and seek, because the exact same affects also Maastricht, Netherlands, as well as in diverse newcomers from Asia and Latin America. And so I will try to seek World Health Organization report and to try to protect also persons bound by the oath, so that they can perform their duties, especially licensed one, because I cannot assure that a person who works is motivated by personal interest in not doing or omission of something.